evening and welcome to our city board meeting this evening. We are honored today to have a past mayor in the audience, and I've asked Reverend Gary.
Two of them.
Yeah. We do.
Bob's here too.
Yeah.
You got two of them.
That's right, too.
Oh, but don't
Well,
ask
do
Bob
you want
to
to?
pray.
Do you want to pray, Bob?
No.
I'd be happy to if it'll help.
We'll ask Gary. We'll ask Gary.
Thank you.
Reverend Moore, if you everybody please stand.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we are grateful to be in this room tonight. For we realize, oh God, unless you build a city, those who labor in vain. And we just pray now, God, that you will bless us, Lord, tonight, and bless this board and bless our city in a very special way, oh God. And we thank you, oh God, for each employee that is employed by this city. And we thank you for the work that they do around the city. We just ask, oh God, tonight that you will bless this board as it deliberates the issues of our day. And we pray, oh God, that you will work among us, work through us, and especially work in us to provide your perfect will for your people. We pray now, God, that you bless all the 10,000 to 12,000 people that we have in this town. And we just pray, oh God, that you will especially wrap your arms around our young people. We pray now, God, that you will fill us with your spirit. Thank you for all that are here. And we pray, Lord, that we will do what is best in the best interest for the city of Bluefield, West Virginia. Thank you, oh God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call our meeting to order, and the first order of business is approval of the minutes from January 13th.
I so move that we accept minutes as printed.
I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? If there are no objections. Hearing no objections, those minutes are approved as presented. And I guess the next item is a presentation.
He's not here. He's called into work again. So
Mr.
Okay.
Dave.
no,
Jeff?
the chief is
Jeff
here,
is
but,
here,
but the individual we want to recognize got called into work. He's covering for somebody that got sick. So anyway.
So we'll postpone that for the next opportunity. And Jane, you have some discussion items?
Great. I've got talk a little bit about some updates. First off, I want to. There's a great crowd. You're killing our statistics, by the way. But a good news piece is that I want to invite everybody to the 3rd of February, Westminster Presbyterian Church in the Fellowship Hall at 6 p.m. 3 February. We're going to do a 6-month in review. I think it's very important that the city sort of, and I'm using 6 months because obviously that's about as far back as I've gone on this, but a chance where the team has been put together. So we're taking this fiscal year, so 1 July through 31 December. We're going to tell you where we were, where we are now, and where we're going. And I think that's very important to be transparent. And I got to tell you, it's going to have a positive tone to it. I've talked to the chamber a couple of times that, while stories that are unfortunate, if they're car wrecks or drug busts or convictions and stuff, sell papers and stuff. I think it's important that you see, hear what's, no kidding, going on inside the city and what has been going on inside the city and where we're going, because it's a lot of positive things that have happened, and we want to make sure we highlight those. So that's going to happen on the 3rd of February. I do want to talk a couple of updates real quick. A great news story is we are now have exhausted the list of houses that have been approved by the city to be demolished. We've run out of houses, which is a good thing. 107 structures have been torn down since June of last year. And now, there are more in the process. We had another
Well, I
building
might
commission.
also add to that if I could, Dane. At one time, our condemnation list was close to 100 houses in Bluefield that were on the condemned list. And Gerald and his team, the building commission is who makes the determination what goes on that list, and we only put one on there today.
Okay, also, in engineering, just some background, if you will. So the city has had a bond with American Water Company for many years. That bond ran out, and so the city is being led by Brian Cochran and our treasurer. We've met with the Ada Water Company, if you will, American Water, and so we're in negotiations right now with we provide somewhere in the neighborhood, I think it was 2 million gallons of water out of Key Dam to them, and we are now in negotiations with them on that piece. So it's pretty interesting discussions. Hasn't been done for 30 plus years, and so we're working through that right now. Speaking of Key Dam, this was one of those areas that was brought to our attention vis-a-vis through the Bluefield Daily Telegraph letters to the editor, which we went and cleaned up. Not only did we go up and clean up the area out at Key Dam, but we did some work out there, some excavator work out there, and denied areas to illegally dump out there, and then we put it on a monitoring campaign, and I'm happy to say that illegal dumping is down to about a bag of trash a week. But we are keeping an eye on that piece. I want to put a shout out to Corporal John Witt. He is one of our police officers who did an amazing job of working through the investigation, and obviously which led to a conviction of Trayvon Strange for homicide. And that's nothing but hard-nosed, good police work and getting after it. And so, Chief Dillo, please pass on to your trooper that what a great job. Just want to publicly recognize him for getting after that piece. A couple other things. As much as I would call him my compadre, which is not a whole lot of times that the Army and the Air Force agree on things, brought up a concern last board meeting, referenced the mobile clinic that we have out here, which is just a phenomenal opportunity and stuff. As anybody that's read the news in quite some time, the VA had a little bit of a hiccup, which led to the firing of quite a bit of senior leadership and such. So atrocious were the areas that they actually just passed what's called as the Veterans Access Choice Accountability Act of 2014, known as the Choice Act. And I made a couple of phone calls based upon some information that Mr. Hancock and I had, making sure that our mobile clinic would not be at risk. And what's great about that in this, and I'll leave this with you afterward, is that it specifically states, and it was reiterated by senior leadership inside the Veterans Administration that I called, that the mobile vet centers and mobile medical centers will improve access to telemedicine and other healthcare services through standardization and greater use of mobile vet centers and mobile medical centers, and are not at risk for removal, which is a good news piece. Matter of fact, I understand also that they are expanding their capabilities to a pain clinic, which is there. On top of that, our new Parks and Rec director is going to carve out a much more presentable space for our veterans inside of the community center, and so we'll be really working through that. But I'll leave this with you. But anyway, thanks for bringing that to attention. That's a good news story on that. And the last piece is sort of a little bit of cleaning up, house cleaning and stuff. I just want to make sure that I had the right guidance. We had, in our working group discussion today, we had a very good presentation by Eric Robinson on Second Chance. As you all know, he gives puts together a pretty monstrous concert. Last year he had Nelly and Georgia Florida line there. He has approached the board again, which you were all briefed on, gave us a pretty in-depth analysis and stuff. I just want to make sure that I am clear to proceed with with the lawyer, the city moving forward, allowing him to do that again this year. Is that sort of what we took away from, just
I
obviously?
didn't.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and, obviously, there's a contract that's involved with this, and the lawyer will work through that and piece, so, okay. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Dane. The next thing we have is public comments. We have first on the list, Reverend Moore, if you want to speak, or if you have a representative, or however you want to do it.
First of all, good evening, everybody.
Come on up front.
Oh.
We can't film you
I
back there.
forgot how to do it. Yeah, that's right.
You can just say it. I don't want you getting too close.
I got it.
You might jump over here and
Ain't gonna happen.
whip up on me or something.
Not gonna happen. First of all, let me say, I've sat where you all have sat, so I'm not here to argue or fuss or fight or anything like that. I'm just here to state a concern. The members of Scott Street Baptist Church, some of them are here. I wish I could get this kind of turnout for Bible study.
Well, we're here, you can be here.
Yeah, that's right. But I am definitely concerned about the current parking situation in front of our edifice, in front of our church. We have been there 125 years, and it has been exactly 103 years since the last fire at Scott Street Baptist Church. And
That's right.
on wood. And when I'm thinking about this, we got tickets. When I say we, myself, Mrs. Williams, just raise your hand there, Karen, and Ada. Y'all probably got a letter from her. Ada Morris. We got parking tickets, and we told the previous administration, we told them that was not a good place to put a fire hydrant. I said, I've gone all over the city, and there's not another church that actually has a fire hydrant in front of it where we park. And when I explained that to them, they said, "Don't worry about it. Y'all have a variance anyway. Y'all, we know where y'all park." Now, I said, I had to quote the Bible. I said, the Bible actually says that there arose a king that did not know Joseph. I said, well, what about the next administration? What about the next folk that come along and don't know what kind of deal we made as far as our parking situation on Sunday morning? And they said, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Well, that bridge and those people are not sitting there, you know what I'm saying? So that bridge is here now, and we have to cross that bridge. That is a very strategic place for us to park, not only for Sunday morning, but especially for funerals. I park my car specifically at the west side of those steps going up the sidewalk there, because we have older members who need to actually hold on to something while they even go up the small steps. Now, if you have never been to my church, we have some steps. We have, you gotta climb to get to heaven there. You gotta go up. And it's difficult when you've got older members who are trying to get into the church, and then to know that, and I wanna show y'all something too, so that you can get the picture of this. They are the ones who put the handicap signs. When I say the previous administration, they put the handicap sign right there where the fire hydrant was. We don't have that authority. We didn't put that there. The sign that says Pastor Parker, they put that there. You know, just in fact, they made it for two vehicles. At that time, we had a van and my car that parked there. And I used to get up close to the van in front of us so that my wife could actually park in the back too, in case we didn't ride together. So that's the history of it. I mean, I understand that you want to enforce law, but like I said, it was our understanding with the previous administration that the variance that we had for years was still in place even before then. So
Is the fire hydrant something that was moved recently?
yes, it was moved in the last 3 years, and it was moved from the other side of the street to the side where we park. And we told them then that was not the proper place to actually put that, because this was something that, I mean, we not only use it on Sundays, of course. I mean, you got choir rehearsal on Thursday, you got Bible study on Wednesday, you got all kinds of stuff that goes on there all week long, and we will be having something there every day there, very soon and very soon. So it is our concern that something needs to be done in order to facilitate the parking there. We're going to have, God forbid, but we're going to have some funerals for some people very soon that I don't think that because of the service that they have given our church, that they should have to, the family even should have to endure a parking situation. It's important for us as one of the oldest congregations in the city to make sure that we have adequate parking every, I'm just not talking about just Sunday, but we have something going on there all the time. And like I said, this is just our concern. And we are not concerned, our biggest gripe, if you will, let me get to the gripe part. Our biggest gripe was not that it was done. We are not lawbreakers there, for the most part. We're not lawbreakers. But how it was done. I mean, we were in church, and we got out of church and found out that we had tickets on the car. That's the problem that we had. It's not that it was done, it was the process by which, that it happened. I think that in the future, if we've been doing something a certain way for so long, I think that the proper way to do that would be to find out why it was done in the first place, or what was going on, or what the context of the parking was in the first place. So that's all we have to. Is that what y'all?
Reverend Moore, where was this fire hydrant located previously?
Across the street behind the library.
Was there some reason given to you why it was moved?
No.
Yeah, yes, I checked in on that, and the reason I got was that when they flushed the hydrant out, the water would run over the hill down towards the library. So they decided to move it, but see, like I said, our contention is, it's plenty of places of space up there. You could have moved it to another location that the water could have ran down the street like it does everywhere else. Or, I feel personally that it would have been cheaper to actually put a drain around the library, but it was there, but they said because when they drain it out, which how do they flush the hydrants out?
They don't, that's the problem.
But not near enough. But they don't do it. It's not something they do every day or every week or every month. And so, it was. My reason for that was on that is that it could have been placed somewhere else. There are places right down below the church on the corner down there, the new street area. I looked at it. You can see where they put the new line in and how they come across in front of the church and then cross back across the street again to continue to go down where it was originally going. But they come over in front of the church and ran the line down in front of the church and then crossed.
Instead of just moving the fire
Instead of just moving the hydrant down or up or whatever, they come over to cross the street.
They could have moved it straight across the street and still wouldn't have been as detrimental as it is now. When I explained it to the guys that are actually working, they said, well, it would cost too much to do it. And I said, well, that's not our problem. That's not the church's problem. There was some kind of flooding going on in the basement of the library or something like that. And I said, well, I'm sure we got some smart minds around here and better engineers around here that can show you how to reroute it to make it, work for everybody. But the word I got back from the previous administration was, that's not going to happen. So since we had the variance, we just thought that everything was cool. And I that's what I did, quote the Bible on. And it's funny because what I said was going to happen, happened.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got a ticket for parking in the same place that I parked for 30 years, which is now not a legal place to park.
Bless your heart.
It's okay, I paid it just like you did.
Oh, sure.
Reverend Moore or Bruce, are you asking us to move the fire
Yes, sir.
hydrant or to officially grant you the variance?
The variance was working just fine. Because like I said, Daniel, this is a young man in the back here. There was he got sick in church one day, and the ambulance actually came up to the back, which is the proper thing to do, and picked him up and took him to the hospital. Okay, so there is a way that all of this can be taken care of. The fire hydrant is not that big a deal as far as I was concerned because we've been parking there for who knows how, well, in the past 3 years, we've been still parking there because we had that variance. But if it's gonna be a problem, I would appreciate that the fire hydrant be moved.
Mr. Moore, have you talked to the West Virginia American Water Company?
That's what we did first. I mean, we
It's their
did that.
hydrant.
We did that, yeah, we did that first. And they said, well, it would cost us too much money. We designed it this way, and it would cost us too much money to move it to where it's convenient for you. And I was like, I've never heard anybody use money as a situation in front of it, as far as the location of a fire hydrant more than anything else. I always thought it was gravity flow. That was my concern with the American Water Company. We talked to them first. We talked to them when they first built, when they first put it there.
Chief Dillhouse got an idea that you may have something to say about this.
Well, let me do it. It's not, he's just following what I told him to do.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So-
I mean, it has when they did the construction of the park, deconstruction of the parking building, and the way they rerouted some of those lines, it was not possible to move that line to where it used to be. That's why it's where it's at, and that's why they won't move it again. And, as far as, I can't tell you what to do as far as giving permission to violate that, but if you do that there, you would have to do that everywhere. It's not I know it's inconvenient, and I know you've been doing it for X amount of time, but it's not something that you should be doing, and it's something that we're going to have to take care of. And those tickets that you were issued were made warnings, just for that
Sure.
reason.
Sure.
And so, and as I spoke with you before, from that point forward, it didn't need to happen anymore so that it wouldn't reoccur. But, I can't speak for them, so you don't have to.
Gotcha.
Here, let me just clarify for public record here real quick. So I've been doing a lot of organizational changes inside the city and trying to make us more efficient. And obviously, enforcing of fire lanes has become more efficient. I have now put that authority with the fire department, who by state law are allowed to enforce fire lanes, illegal burning, things as such. They're doing a great job at it, and I back them up 100% on it. There's been some areas where we've had to do some communication and retraining on. There's been some areas we've found that are mismarked by the city, and we've gone back and corrected those areas. But I will tell you that the reason that we're enforcing these, one is it's state law. Second thing is that there's a convenience piece that puts lives at public risk. Or their safety is at risk. We just had to evacuate which hospital, Chief?
It wasn't a hospital.
Or not the hospital, which church?
It was over on Pulaski Street. It was
Mount Zion.
Mount
200 people inside there. We actually had to physically maneuver and push vehicles out of the way in order to get the fire truck to it, so that we could so they can do what they're supposed to do. So we're not only putting the people at risk inside the buildings, but also those that are trying to do what they're supposed to do and responding to those. So the fire department's doing a great job with this, which is freeing up the police department to do other things that they should be doing instead of enforcing these pieces. I got it, and I've heard a lot of them that have said, well, I've been parking there for 20 years. Well, you've been breaking the law for 20 years, is what it boils down to.
We've just been breaking the law for 3.
Well, it's good. That's why and after the communications piece, it's okay. So here's where it is. We're enforcing it now. I screwed up and could have done a better job. I did not realize how great a job the fire department was going to do in enforcing this piece, which shows me how overtapped the police department was. And so, yeah, we could have told people that they shouldn't be breaking the law, but I missed that. That's a ding on me.
We weren't intentionally breaking the law because of the fact that we were under the understanding that we had a variance as far as.
But it's not just you.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with the president from Bluefield State College. They're very upset with me as well. On us enforcing and as well as I got calls from the hospital. But we're going to enforce the standard, and that's what you all pay me to do. That's what you pay the police and the fire department to do. And once you walk past something that's wrong, we've just set a new standard, and we refuse to do that. So, anyways, that's sort of the why behind it on there.
I don't know if there's any,
Nobody else wants to speak.
Just have a question. As Reverend, our pastor had mentioned, that yes, we have been doing this for a long time, and we did intend to do it, but like we said, if we had been told about this ahead of time, we wouldn't have done it. When they put that there too, the fire hydrant, we were told also if we were not blocking the fire hydrant. Where I was parked at 7 o'clock at night, when I got my ticket, I was back, I know, at least 10 feet from that, and I know it's supposed to be 12, but I was not blocking that fire lane. And then the lady beside me that Sunday morning, she was parked at a handicap parking space, and because she was too close to the fire hydrant, she was given a parking ticket. But yet she was right, because she was at the parking meter that said handicap, and really her sign was in her mirror, her window. But my thing is that although it's no parking, so you're saying, are you going to mark that where where we're not supposed to park? Or is it understood if you do not block that fire hydrant and so many feet away from it?
State law states that when you take your basic driver's test, just so to clarify, we did change your tickets to warnings, correct?
And I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
so I
you.
just want to make sure that, the second piece is that the law, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, whether it's marked or not marked, is illegal. Correct? So now, you're absolutely right. I drove up there again today and took a picture, and there is somebody has painted a blue handicap space.
The city did.
Directly.
The city
I got it. That's the same city that gave you a variance, which I haven't seen in writing, that's illegal to give, that states that we could
Right.
waive state law.
Right.
So anyway, so we'll correct this. We'll go up and unpaint that, paint over it. Please don't park in front of that. The sign that's placed on top of on the pole actually violates another ordinance, a code that states that you're not allowed to put things on telephone poles and others, which so
I didn't put it there.
we'll take
The
that.
city of Bluefield put it there, believe it or not.
So anyway, we didn't ticket. We didn't ticket you.
Right.
We gave you a warning ticket.
Sure.
Just don't do it anymore, type of thing. I'll go back to American Water and ask them, where we are and what we can
And
do and stuff.
especially, I'm more concerned about the fact that funerals more than anything else. I cannot ask a family to park across the street or around the corner for a funeral.
I will tell you that the chief police and the chief of the fire chief, in certain circumstances, if you will come to the city and say, hey, we have a special situation, come help us organize this so that we can support the family's needs and still provide emergency response services. I think that we're not that draconian that we can't work through things. So.
Let me say something, and it's not against anyone. Mount Zion Pentecostal did have that fire. And I think it's the same weekend probably you guys had a problem. When the trucks came out, illegally parking, they had parked on the sidewalk all the way up Pulaski. When those trucks got there, they couldn't get through. The members had to come out to move their vehicles so that the trucks could get to the fire. Now, as you said, you have never had a fire, knock on wood. I'm absolutely positively sure Mount Zion Pentecostal had never had one either. But that one day, the speaker caught fire, smoking. They called the electrician first. It took a while for the electrician to get there. So then it started fire. They took their fire extinguisher to put it out. The fire supposedly started dripping down, as I was told, to the floor and to their seats. Then they called the fire department. Now look how much time has lapsed.
Sure.
Now we've got to wait till the members run out and move their cars.
I understand.
Some of those cars on the sidewalk, the fire hydrant was behind.
I understand. I do understand.
And
But like I said, I don't think that there's any other church in Bluefield that has a fire hydrant in front of it. Plus, there are easier accesses to put out a fire, especially if they use a pumper. at Scott Street.
Who, just for my own knowledge, does the West Virginia Water decide where fire hydrants
Yeah,
go?
this is a easement, this is a utilities easement that they have the authorities to.
To just decide wherever they want to put it, they can put it?
Well, I mean, it's at a cost to them, obviously. They've got to maintain the systems. It's got to be, they do have requirements. They've got to maintain pressures, certain pressures so that Jeff and his guys can actually utilize them.
Well, I don't see any harm in us talking to
No,
West
and I'll do
Virginia
it.
Water
Like I said, we'll go back and do
and
it.
see what we can do and see if there's a solution that would help your issue.
And I appreciate that, but, because if that's the case, what you're just saying, then they can go out here and just put a meter in front of anybody's house, church, or whatever then, right?
Well,
If
fire
they have the
hydrant.
fire hydrant, in front of them. And, Mr. Smith, what you're saying over there at, Pentecostal, I agree, but that situation where they're parking on the sidewalk and anything like that, they were wrong. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the way we were parking. Okay, because we're not on the sidewalk, we're not blocked, and as the pastor just said, the manor down below us, they have fire trucks running there all day long most of the time.
Little street.
And they actually come in both ways to take care of a fire. We have never been impeded the fire department from doing anything they had to do on Scott Street. And that's why I'm saying, that's why
I
we felt
guess it was
okay.
more or less just to say you never know when something
Well,
like
something
could
might
happen.
happen, right? But and we understand that.
I
But-
agree with that.
It's, you place the fire hydrant at the place you have the greatest risk. Church is a assembly. It's got, I don't know how many members, 100 members on Sunday. And you got the fellowship home right beside it. And it's got people that sleep there, and some of them don't have the best habits in the world. Some of them, they're recovering alcoholics or recovering drug addicts. They lock themselves in their rooms with padlocks on the inside.
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever been there, but the stairways are like 2.5 feet wide. And by having that hydrant where it's at, it's in a vital location to serve that area. It's a piece of infrastructure that actually should make your insurance rating go down for your church.
Well, probably, but why did they put it on the corner? I'm just using this as an example. I mean, this is.
We didn't have any wasn't allowed to weigh in where they put it.
I got you.
We want one in that area, and the water company put it there.
But that's,
And there's another hydrant right there on top of the hill at Yatkin Street.
Right.
It should line right up with it. That might have been why they put it there, because it will give that hydrant more pressure
Up at
by
the
having
top.
that hydrant right there.
Sure.
And it's all these hydrants are on a loop system. And when they loop together, they got more pressure. So I can grab a hydrant at the bottom of Federal Street down
Sure.
there and bring it up, and I can grab one at the top of Scott Street, and I'll have adequate water supply to fight any sizable structure fire in that area. There's a lot of people who depend on these hydrants where they're at. And that's one of the reasons they locate them where they're at. It's the amount of population and the amount of structure that it has to protect.
Sure. We understand that.
I understand
No
that,
problem
too.
with that whatsoever.
My question is on, what you're saying, I know that all that happens, but as the section of Scott Street we're talking about, there's a lot more room that they could have put that fire hydrant someplace else that they still would have been lined up with Atkins Street up there. They didn't have to come right in the front door of our church to do that. They could have lined that up even across the street. If you go back and look across, they could have lined up with Atkins Street over there. They did not have to put it at the front steps of the church.
Okay, but do you understand why we have to enforce that?
Oh, I understand.
Oh, wait,
That's the
I have
law.
no problem with that.
I have no
either.
problem
You
with
know,
doing
you
it.
know
I have a problem with the
that.
fact that where it
The-
is
The
located.
problem was, as I said before, the problem was where it is located when we told them not to put it there in the first place. And they said something about the variance and all of that, and I said, there will be somebody that will not agree. So this is why we are here.
Well, we can't allow you to park illegally.
I understand.
However, we can talk to West Virginia Water and see if there is any kind of solution.
Yeah.
Anyway, we certainly appreciate your comments
Not a
and,
problem.
and,
Excuse me, Mayor
briefly.
Cole,
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one more question. Across the street, now, I've also been to the fire department, they said, do not park in the yellow. There's, across the street, there's yellow painting. can we park there, or are you going to change it, or what's gonna happen? Because we don't have parking.
Yeah,
No,
I got it.
I'm-
No, that's
There's
great,
some
that's
places
what I
right in
noticed
front of
today.
us.
I drove up there today and wanted to get eyes on the ground and stuff like that, and you are absolutely correct. So I sent the city engineer up there, and he measured it. Your street is 34 feet wide. I need 7 feet on either side for parking, and that gives me 20 feet in the middle, and for lanes to go back and forth in. What we have to work on now is I'm gonna quickly get with Public Works and the fire department and the police department, make sure that that curve that goes down is a blind curve. How far can I take that parking area to maximize your parking space and then repaint that, get rid of the yellow line? I agree with you 100% that you should be able to park on that side of the street. I don't know why they ever painted it yellow, but they did.
Because that's what they.
They did a lot of things before I got here.
That's where
you
the
know,
hydrant used to be.
That's right.
So we're gonna relook it and put common sense to this.
If you look at the two signs, the parking signs, that's for the area in between. We're not writing citations from that sign back. So if you're getting one for that, I mean, we're not writing for that, the area that you're talking about. That's not happening.
So we'll look for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lots
Said
of
it.
things
Tanya?
need to be correct.
First board meeting. So I'll start by saying good evening and thank you all for your diligent efforts in making our city more beautiful and safer. I think I have some questions about the multi-dwelling, and I think the attorney here has allowed me to know that maybe I don't have a play in that because they're not related. But I would like to know what efforts I can take in order to deal with a situation I have around my home. There's a good 14. My neighbors, the Francescos, say that I'm lowballing that number. There might be 16, 18 people living in one residence. For the most part, let's just own it. It's public record. Most of them are convicted felons and released, and some of them are on current charges in both states, Virginia and West Virginia. I do live alone. I think that there's a good reason for a female to be intimidated by that crowd. I would like to thank Officer Chief Dillo. He and parts of Bluefield PD have done whatever they can, and at this point I think I've exhausted all of my efforts to attempt to solve it. So I don't know if there's a formal complaint that you can file on the homeowner. I'm not quite sure what to do at this point, but I'm a little frustrated given the fact that I work very, very hard to keep up with my home, and that I have to encounter basically a halfway house and these characters.
Some are very into college to go towards,
On the very end of.
well, it's,
I mean, you just had a missing U-Haul picked up from there yesterday and 2 people incarcerated. You've had police officers discuss with me that they have delivered warrants to people other than the actual person that resides in the home. So I don't know how you go about documenting that there are multiple people, not related, living in the same home, or if that's even an issue. But I have an issue with it and with the activity that's involved with the home. And there's only so much you all can do because there's a criminal aspect to this. And I think the police, hopefully all of them, are working diligently to do their part and take care of what they can. But I was thrown underneath the bus last night by, allegedly, a couple of police officers. And I am here to also allegedly throw them back underneath the bus. I don't know if it's appropriate to release someone's name that has made numerous criminal complaints on an individual while you have him in custody. And I'm sure that's yet to be investigated, and I hope that it will be, because I certainly hope to talk to Chief Dillo about that. And so I won't waste your time with any more of that nature of the conversation. I think I just really want answers from you all. What can I do?
As to the individuals living in the dwelling, I'm going to put you in contact with Lori Mills. She's
I've already
our-
been in contact with Lori Mills. She
Okay.
stated that if there was not an ordinance being broken on the outside of the home, that she could not enter the home. So there are no infractions, although there are no radiators in the home, and they've also yanked the heat pump out. There's no source of heat, but that's on the interior of the home. So I don't know how to get anybody there.
Do you
Okay.
know who owns the house?
Yes, I do. The father of one of the people that resides there.
Does the person live there?
No, they do not.
If there is no heat in the house, it is subject for an investigation. So we will have Lori Mills go in and look at the home. You can't live in a house without heat. It's not
Correct.
appropriate.
I mean, I do know that
So
they're
we'll,
using.
so we will have her go look into that situation. So that's a way to do that. File any formal complaints related to an individual that is in a criminal process. You'll have to continue conversation with the city attorney on that item. And there was one more thing, and I'm sorry, I'm missing one.
There's so
third
much
item.
going on
Yeah.
over there, I gotta be honest, I'm not quite
Sure.
sure.
Sure, and so let's start in those two places and then go from there on what we can do for the rest of the items. I'd love to meet with you after this and we'll talk a little bit.
I would
more.
greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
I've certainly made calls to reach out and talk to people that could help solve this.
Okay,
So,
we'll
thank
start there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tanya. Ms. Hancock?
First of all, I'm proud to stand before the board again, once again. At the last meeting we had here, there was an article in the newspaper about veterans at the city for help. And thank the city manager and all, that we're getting some help. He told me he made some telephone calls, and he said he knew some people to get things done. I told him I knew some people to get things done, but not the same people. At any rate, I wanted to bring that up today. And also, I was looking at this same paper here. It say nursing home construction began. And I handwritten in there, it said Veterans Clinic construction begins. That's what it should have said. But anyway, I'm just proud to stand before you guys again today and eat some old crow, and as I stood here before and done so. I'm not beyond that. There was an article in today's Bluefield paper, states that Senator Manchin, he had put a blurb in here, his office did, and talking about McDowell County, our old hometown. And says Senator Manchin has appropriated $69,214 to be used in what they call a Stop Abusive Family Environment in Welch. However, he goes on to say that some of these funds can also be used to help veterans. And anytime I see that word veteran, my old eyes get big and I start drinking rum like a crazy man. But at any rate, things are happening for veterans, and as long as that keep on happening, don't have no problem with Al Hancock. The mobile clinic is here for a while, and there are some improvements that are going to be made in the waiting area down there. Pretty sure that one of the employees came to me a couple of weeks ago and mentioned that to me, what veterans sitting by the door as you go in this kind of weather. Veterans, matter of fact, I have to go there tomorrow myself, get something done, but we're going to do everything we can for the veterans. And I remember the first meeting of this board, I stood here and said Bluefield was not veteran friendly. Very next meeting, I think I came when they crowed, did I not?
I don't think it was the next meeting.
No,
Not the next one.
couple.
A couple meetings,
Couple
okay.
meetings.
Well, anyway, I was wrong.
We'll
but,
check that record.
But we do know that you did come and say.
Yes, sir, I did see it.
Yeah.
I did see it. So
Absolutely.
I beginning to see some improvements, and as long as that happens, you don't have to worry about Al Hancock. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey, I just want to point out that I was a little nervous when I made the phone calls up there to the, and I mentioned your name. And I was bragging on you today, and I don't do that about the Air Force much. Let you guys give us rides.
All right, sir.
But I got to tell you that you've got a heck of a reputation at the senior level of the Veterans Administration, and you're one of those guys that comes to them with solutions and with courses of action or to get after things. Very researched and educated type of problems,
Yes, sir.
and they look at you as a liaison and a scout down here. I will tell you, you got some great clout up there, and so I was impressed.
All right, sir.
I'm gonna have to go take a shower now. I'm saying that about an Air Force guy.
Well, you will. I tell you what, I know you like vodka and I like rum. But you come to a happy meeting there. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Tony Papa?
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
The reason I came up here to speak was I understood at this meeting they were going to award the telephone bid contract. I talked to the mayor prior to the meeting, and he says they're not going to award it at this meeting. They're going to do it at a town hall meeting at Westminster Presbyterian
I'm gonna move it
Church.
to the next town hall meeting, or next board meeting in 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
you're gonna do it 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Yeah, we'll move
So it's
it.
gonna be in 2 weeks.
That's correct.
At this meeting or at
Yes.
This meeting.
At
this meeting? I was also informed that I was not gonna get the bid, that y'all chose somebody else. And because I didn't meet the specs, but I differ with what they said, but I do meet the specs. And this is strictly a business thing, it's not a personal thing. I do not have a city license, I have applied for them, I came, and I had to get a variance to do that, which is February the 12th. I have meet in front of, I guess, the building commissioner, whoever does that, prior to getting a city business license. And we're going to get that in order. But, and that's where I stand. I don't know who evaluated the bids, because I know there's 2 other bids that were lower. One was lower than mine, and everybody can't be wrong. Other than, there's a $20,000 difference, roughly $20,000 difference between the high bid and the low bid. And as good stewards with city money or taxpayer money, you have to take that into consideration. Why would you spend $20,000 more for something that you can get? And I differ that I did meet the specs, and I'd be awaiting somebody to show me where I didn't. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Thank you all for your comments. We'll move on to our action items. And the first item is approval of a general funds budget revision, and that's our revision number 2. Would you like to?
I would like to address that, but if you would entertain me just for a moment and let me bring something else to your attention that has occurred since our meeting this morning. And I just want a little bit of guidance is what I'm asking. Being new, city manager being new, most of us all at this in the room being new. This board in many years past has created a beautification committee. I looked up the code to see what all I needed to be aware of before I brought this to you. And the first thing is the duty of the commission is to advise and recommend to the mayor and the board programs and projects that would, in the opinion of the commission, improve the beauty and general welfare of the city. Okay, that's a given, that's easy. Within the rest of that, it goes on to say that the commission, meaning the beautification commission, shall be reimbursed by the city for their actual expenses incurred in connection with the performance of their duties, and that the board of directors may appropriate such funds as it deems appropriate to finance the activities of the commission. Well, when I got back to my desk after our work session this morning, I had a small stack of checks on my desk to write for the beautification commission. And I'm perfectly good doing that and signing that, but I just want to bring it to your all's attention before I do it. Because we've not discussed how this should play out with any of your boards or commissions. I think in the past, the chair of those commissions or boards or committees have just come to one of the members of my team and said, here's the receipts and we need to pay these bills. I feel that you all need to have some oversight of that. Not that you necessarily need to sign off on every expenditure, but I think it needs to be at least on your radar as to what's going on.
Is there an invoice?
There are. There's 8 or 9. Count that quickly. Invoices. It totals $7,000. Some of the highlights would be $2,600 for a trash receptacle and bench. There's some lemon drop expenditures, which would be expected. There's some Christmas type expenditures, some velvet bows, some more banners that's got the train and the snow. There's some shrubs for the park. And some Christmas lights, and then some miscellaneous purchases from State Electric and Citizens. I don't see anything out of ordinary. I think it's very appropriate expenditures, but I just don't feel comfortable giving my stamp of approval when we haven't discussed a procedure for this. So I'm hoping that right now we can just say, sounds good, let's do it, and then we can develop a procedure.
You know, didn't we, Colonel, didn't we say that we were going to talk about commissions and that we had put it off to our next
Right.
meeting? We could develop that procedure in our next meeting.
Right.
I personally see nothing wrong at all with paying those bills right
All
now.
right, I don't want to put the vendors out.
No.
We would need to pay those. I mean, there's certainly things that
I totally
a
agree.
city or city representative.
Totally agree. I
Um,
just kind of wanted to
but-
bring it up, get it on record, and
Well, and I do think that, it's sort of on the radar screen with regard to the board and city manager as far as what are these commissions doing and having more accountability to the board.
if it had been immaterial, you know, $10 or so, I wouldn't have.
It's
even brought it up.
$7,000.
The $7,000 I felt was material to that particular.
Now, what's important to note here, we discussed why we're in such a quandary, is a lot of these commissions and boards go out and do events or have donations that are given in support of these. And so it's not like we're taking money straight out of the taxpayer B&O or fees and that type of stuff. It's they've gone out and raised or solicited for on behalf of it. Once it comes into the hands of the treasurer, it becomes city property and therefore requires, the vote of the board in order to expend those funds. It has to be accounted for. But we're finally doing, we're doing the right things.
Yes.
That's right. So if there's a revenue that comes in, there's going to be expenditure in the budget for audit purposes and stuff.
And I think that, that's a great point. The Beautification Commission in the city of Bluefield is very active, and they do a lot of fundraising, and they absolutely make our city a more attractive city to live in.
And we don't want to impede that.
Right.
No, and they raise their money as
They
do
do great
others.
things. We just want to make sure we stay legal. That's the right thing.
Okay.
Right, lawyer?
So moving on
Moving.
to my actual part of the agenda. What I brought to you this morning and what I present to you tonight for approval is the second revision to the general fund budget. Much of this, as I explained, is housekeeping. It's putting revenue into the correct lines that the state sets forth for us to do, as well as the expenditure side of it. Quick overview is, and it sounds kind of, I guess, like bad news, but it's really not. It's just getting our house in order. It does reduce the anticipated revenue by $405,829. I've broken it into the categories, again, that the state sets forth for us. The revision estimates an additional $27,636 in taxes, an additional $16,500 in fines and forfeitures. It does have a reduction of $100,000 in license and permits, and it has a reduction of $423,250 in charges for service. That's to more realistically budget what will be collected by the city in regards to our city fees. In addition to that, there's $34,285 in grant receipts and an additional $39,000 in just miscellaneous revenues. This total decrease in anticipated revenue of the $405,829 brings the general fund revenue budget to $10,099,424. I've highlighted some of the changes on the expenditure side, because anytime you make a change on the revenue side in order to balance that budget, which we are required to do, unlike the federal government, you have to make changes to the expenditure side. Some of our changes are appropriations for additional expenditures. Some of them are appropriations to reduce some expenditures or to reappropriate money out of certain lines across the board into various expenditure lines. Some of the things, just a couple of the highlights, the city manager vehicle of $25,581 is now in the budget so that we can pay that bill. There's a $20,000 increase in IT for software and hardware upgrades, which was approved, I think, by the board prior to me even coming on board. There's the $127,500 appropriation for ongoing code enforcement demolitions and landfill costs. We had overexpended that line, and this brings not only enough money into that line to cover what we've already expended, but gives them what we hope will carry them through till June the 30th. Let's see what else looks exciting. $63,790 appropriation for the storm sewer van and camera. And again, the bottom one, of course, is the big one, the $1,054,925 reduction in appropriations for contingency and unnamed capital projects. That, in my opinion, was where when they created the budget in a very hurried manner, back when the treasurer was no longer in this position, but they had to submit something to the state, they dumped a lot of money in those lines just without accounting for it. So this kind of moves that out of there, spreads it throughout the budget where it belongs. And again, like I said, the overall decrease in the expenditure budget totals the same as what we did in the revenue budget, bringing us to a balanced budget of $10,099,424. And I would ask for your approval to submit this to the state.
I move, Mr. Mayor, that we accept revision number 2 presented by Treasurer Davis.
We have a motion to approve the budget revision number 2. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that budget revision is approved. The next item is a vehicle for the city manager. He's only been here how long?
6 months.
And you've been walking all that time? And you touched upon that. Kelly, let's see, 25,581. What'd you get?
A Jeep Cherokee. It's 5,000 underneath what you told me to spend.
Not a Humvee.
Desert, am I?
It had to be 4-wheel drive with your hills around here, I'll tell you that much.
So this is the approval for the payment of, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the payment of $25,581.
I move we approve that payment for the city manager.
We have a motion to approve the purchase of the city manager's vehicle for $25,581. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and since we've ordered it, it's a good thing we're approved to pay for it. Dane, did you want to talk
If
about
I
the
could,
GPS?
if I could. So today's working group meeting, I brought forth a new tool, if you will, to my kit bag, and there's a lot of things that have been pushing it. And what I'm looking at doing is putting GPS tracking devices, or systems, if you will, in city vehicles. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of reasons for this. First off, and I'll go through a couple of them just so you get where my 2 cents is going on this thing. One is a LoJack system, meaning that if it's tampered with, immediately it sends a text or an email to those individuals which we deem need to have it, that the vehicle's being tampered with. We recently had $2,800 worth of batteries stolen out of our city public works area, and we would have had immediate notification that was happening if these systems had it. GPSs, we use them in the federal government for a lot of reasons. One, it's accountability piece, which is very important. It also gives you accident data. It allows you to sit down with drivers and whether or not they're aggressively abusing equipment or they could drive more efficiently. It gives you a breadcrumb ability. I can go back and analyze route structures. If Mr. Gibson is a trash truck driver and has been driving in Bluefield for 25 years, and young Josh Klein comes along and he's the new driver that he's training, Mr. Gibson shows Josh how to drive that vehicle because that's the route he's been driving for 25 years in this city. That doesn't mean it's the most efficient route. And when you're paying over $500,000 for fuel costs in the city, you probably want to look closely at what you've been doing. So this allows us to pick up that big data and analyze our route structures. So we get a massive fuel savings that's on there. The other breadcrumb piece is we have a lot of incidents where we need to fix at Bluefield is a perfect example. It allows us to you now can tell us that there's a pothole here, or there's a leaf pickup, or there's a special trash pickup, or what have you, and we are now able to find the vehicle that's the closest to that location and then prosecute whatever that new work order is. We tried doing that using cell phones this year with our leaf trucks, saying, okay, you're picking up leaf trucks on Oakhurst. We need you to go over to Cherry Street and pick it up. We found out very quickly, if anybody's been around the leaf truck, you can't hear your cell phone going off. And these vehicles actually have a Garmin device that will allow for a text to be posted on the dashboard. The individual, all he has to do is he's got a new mission, if you will. He punches in the accept button, and it gives him the most efficient route to go and prosecute that leaf pickup. Makes us more efficient, makes us faster and flatter, if you will. The also gives us accident details data. How fast were you driving? Aggressive driving, braking? Were you physically at that location? And then it allows me from a behavioral modification, if you will. It allows me to ensure that our city employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be doing it, and not taking those vehicles where they shouldn't be. It allows me to put a barrier around the city limits or in certain areas so that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and stuff. We use them in the federal government, and I will tell you the efficiencies go pretty much through the roof because I don't want to say that Big Brother's watching, but it makes honest people honest, and trust but verify, if you will. So.
And what is it's a 3-year?
3-year contract, and it's about $5,000 a year is what the total cost is. So $15,000 for the 3-year contract is what I'm asking for.
Okay.
And that's how many vehicles? 12? I so move that we approve the GPS for our select city vehicles.
Have a motion to approve the Dane entering into a 3-year contract for GPS on our select city vehicles. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that purchase is approved. Thank you. Brian, I'm going to let you give us some background on this next.
Well, initially, the city manager contacted me regarding section 461 of the Code of Ordinances dealing with issuance of citations for animal issues. And that section provided that the animal control officer and/or any police officer and/or any police officer are authorized to issue citations for any violations of sections under this article. It's a very good idea to include our code enforcement officers in that also. So basically, we're just authorizing code enforcement to also issue citations for animal violations. That section, I looked at it again this morning after our meeting, and I do want to, this is the first reading on it, so I do want to recommend a minor change in the proposed ordinance, and that would be all city animal control officers, code enforcement officers, and police officers are authorized instead of the way it's written, the animal control officer, code enforcement, or any police officer.
Change D to all.
All city animal control officers,
Code enforcement
officers, and or police officers, and police officers are authorized to issue citations.
Here's the coolest thing that this does for us, and it's very efficient. So a code enforcement officer is at a residence or a location, and they're in the conduct of their business, they observe a pit bull that's not registered in the backyard of somebody's house, type of thing. Instead of having to call the police officer and tying up another city asset, now that code enforcement officer will have the ability to not only take care of the code enforcement citations that he's doing on the residents, but also save manpower and be able to enforce the animal control issue that they have as well. You're adding 5 people to the team, if you will, that allows us to get after enforcing our ordinances, which is obviously an important piece.
So this is the first reading of an ordinance to amend Part 2 Code of Ordinances of the City of Bluefield, Chapter 4, Animals, Article 2, Dogs and Cats, Section 4-49, Dangerous Animals, and Section 4-61, Issuance of Citations.
Mayor, if I may finish, I'm sorry. Section 449 is a separate section dealing with dangerous animals, and what I did there, as a result of the 3-2 decision by the Supreme Court, which I agreed with the 2 of the justices. Anyways, we are removing the language in that code section that authorizes our municipal court to order the euthanization of a dog found to be vicious and dangerous and in the habit of biting or attacking persons. Now we've contacted the Municipal League, and I think they are pursuing legislation this year to specifically include municipalities in Chapter 19, which is an agricultural section of the code, which the Supreme Court based a decision on. But anyways, for now, we're removing that language to be consistent with the way the
Supreme Court ruled.
The majority of the court ruled, yes.
Okay. Which is encompassed in that first reading. So there's the two things are, one is the giving the ability to write citations for animal control issues for a broader number of people, and then removing the euthanasia piece.
Right.
Okay.
2 separate sections.
So we need a motion for that. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance that I read.
As amended.
As amended. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the first reading of the ordinance as amended is approved. The next item we have is motor vehicle response billing.
Let me, Kelly, help me out here with this. First off, we're looking.
Just like them both. Pass these out to them.
Yeah. As we look across the city, I keep asking questions. You know, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? So of course, Kelly Davis brings a lot of great ideas. And one of the ideas that came over, the question she asked us is, why are we not, when our fire department responds to a wreck, if you will, inside the city? If you go to Bluefield, Virginia, you know, it's amazing how many response vehicles show up to a single wreck. And what's happening is that those response vehicles in turn turn around and go to insurance companies. The driver never sees it, but they go to insurance companies and they charge them for hazmat spill or extrication, or providing those services that we, the taxpayers, are paying for those essential services. It states in our ordinance, and there's even a fee schedule that's associated with it. We just have not been, as a city, when our fire department goes out and actually responds, we have not been going and trying, as we should, due diligence in claiming fees for those services from the insurance companies.
And in a lot of cases, it might be people that don't even live in the city, don't, you know, that are.
A large percentage of
That,
yeah, right.
If Brian and I were to have an accident when we leave here tonight, we're both outside of the Bluefield city limits. This particular ordinance, let's assume Brian hit me, would allow us to bill Brian's insurance and recoup the response of the fire department responding to that.
You're assuming it was Brian's fault, he hit you.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what you see here, and we'll use Princeton as an example. So Princeton has farmed out this. We can either do it internal, or we can farm this out to a company that actually does this for, this building piece. Kelly is somewhere in the neighborhood between 60 and 40% of success rate on this piece.
Not everybody's automobile policy has that coverage, but a lot of them do. And I think what we're asking with this is let's build them all. We'll accept payment from the ones that have the coverage, but we're not going to follow through and build an individual if their insurance doesn't cover it. I think that's important to know.
That we will.
Will not.
So it's part of discussion with the fees, as we look at the fees.
Then would that mean we would be able to perhaps get rid of that vehicle fire fee?
I think that's a great reason to get rid of the vehicle fire fee, in my opinion. I mean, it's sort of, vehicle fire fee is there's 5 fees in this city. It's very painful to do business with the city, and that's what we're looking at. This is a perfect example where the revenue stream can be replaced. We go after the insurance companies, and a lot of times, as you stated, that they aren't residents here, and then we remove a burden off of the residents by, it's $14.25 a vehicle that we charge annually for a vehicle fire fee that can be eliminated. I mean, it's something that, to definitely take a look at.
so what are we looking for? Right now, a motion to have you.
I want to make it clear that we were going to start this process. It's already in our ordinance. It's already approved in our ordinance. We can do this. I just want to let you know that we're going to start. I'm going to add this responsibility to the fire department to make them do something we probably should have already been doing. It's in our ordinance.
Well, so we don't really need to do anything, do we?
There's no action that you need to take.
Okay.
So they can just choose whoever they.
Well, we could do it ourselves, or we could contract with a third party.
But we're going to let the fire department decide.
I'll let them bring me a recommendation, and then
We're going to
Kelly and I
let you
will.
decide. Okay.
If there's a contract with a third party, at some point, we probably have to get your.
Right, if we decide to enter it into a contract, okay.
We'd have, sounds good. Sounds good.
We can actually start doing this immediately.
Yeah.
We can actually start
No
doing this.
reason not to.
But I will take it on as a tasking, Ms. Light, on the vehicle fire fee, and we'll do some research on that
Yeah.
and come back to the recommendation.
Good.
So again, the fire fee won't come out to the citizens anymore?
Well, that's what I'll go back and let me go back and do some research on that, because I think that there's more to just.
You would have to take this board would have to take action to remove that fire fee. This has nothing to do with the vehicle fire fee. All he's explaining is that we have a current ordinance in place that we have not been doing, and we're going to start doing.
Okay. And part of that is also take a look at these other fees and how we adjust those. Let's go ahead and do the reports from the officers. Ellen,
Well, I know that this seems like kind of a tough time. We're getting tough, but we're getting equalized, getting on a stable footing. We're forging ahead, which is something I haven't felt like this city's done in a long time. So personally, I feel really, really, really good about it. We're making a lot of progress. We've gotten rid of a lot of properties that were blighted. We're seeing progress in new businesses starting. Tutors is going to open up some. You may find other things that will happen sooner that you haven't read about. We're even old Ellen, who's parked in her same parking spot for 30 years, had to suck it up. I'm still going to argue mine, that you're not the only place that's got the fire hydrant and the handicap zone. There's another one that I pointed out to Chief Dillo that he's going to have to fix, and it's if you come downtown and you don't see it, it's on a main drag. And I went, what in heaven's name is that doing there? You can't miss it if you go downtown and it's not in front of your church. So we're getting things cleaned up and in working order, and I think a lot of credit has to go to our new hires who have really enthused some of our long-time already very hard-working employees of the city of Bluefield. So I'm proud of everybody. We've got some real teamwork going on here. And yay, City of Bluefield employees. Thank you, one and all of you. New, fairly new, and some of you really old codgers back there in the back. Yeah, I'm looking at you too, Dillo, just because you can stand up.
Only been the chief 2 years.
Yeah, but you've been here for what, 40 years now? Yeah. Somebody said you had preschool downstairs in the back seat. I know. They didn't have preschool when you were little. Anyway, thank you all. Bravo. I've spoken my piece for now.
Are you sure?
I don't know. You can't ever tell with me.
I don't know how to follow Ellen, it's just impossible. I'd just like to thank everybody that's in attendance tonight. It's good to see this crowd here tonight, even though Reverend Moore admitted to breaking the law.
No, he didn't.
Off the record.
Off the record.
Off the record.
And I would like to say that in the last year and a half or so, it's been a real privilege to serve with this board. It's been a real learning experience.
What are you,
believe me.
quitting?
No. It's just been a real experience. I'll tell you, we've got a lot of good things that we're working on, and I think the citizens of Bluefield will be happy when they see some things develop in a year or so.
Thank you. Mike?
People frequently ask us, well, tell me, exactly what have you done since you've been there? Well, we're going to answer that for you in detail. In the not too distant future, there'll be an article, a 2-page article in the Bluefield Daily Telegraph that outlines what this board has done and what our city manager has done, and the police department, fire department, assistant city manager, the city attorney, and all the people that make this city what it is, make the administration of the city what it is. So you'll all be able to see what we have done, and you will have access to a major plan, long-term plan, to show you what we plan on doing and what we're going to be focused on. So I urge you to pay attention in the next few weeks, and hopefully you can take from what you read what we have done. And I think it's important. I mean, they're big things, and then they're little things. When I ran for the city board, somebody told me, well, you got to remember the 3 Ps. That's all you need to know. pistols, potholes, and pit bulls. And you will see.
Sounds like a country song.
Yeah. With the exception of the pistols, which we haven't really done too much about. We have gone on from the pit bulls and the potholes and done a lot of things. And when you look at that, let it jog your senses about what else you think we could do or should do. We're here to serve you. And we certainly appreciate nights like tonight where you all come out and you speak candidly and put us to the task of giving you the ideas that we think are important and why we haven't done some things that you might think are important. But in any event, keep watch, and I think it'll be helpful to you. Thank you.
This is our second meeting, and I do want to say again, Happy New Year. And I'm glad this crowd is here. Maybe we need to give a couple of more tickets somewhere. I mean, the temperature outside is about 12 degrees. And this is a nice crowd, but no, all the puns, but I have received a ticket, and it was on Scott Street, so don't feel rained on.
That's
They don't
right.
care whose license plates is on,
That's
so.
right. I got one.
Again, thanks for coming out. And on your complaints, please use our computer, Fix It Bluefield. That is gonna be our eyes. And when we can use that as our eyes, our city manager is on top of that. So please help us, because we can't be everywhere, but you are. Thank you.
Well, just to kind of sum up what everybody else has said, and it was mentioned earlier, but Tuesday, February the 3rd at 6 p.m., which is a week from tonight, we're going to have a town hall meeting, and as you know, at our, maybe it was our very first meeting, but Mike Gibson made the suggestion, and we all picked up on it and ran with it, but to have these town hall meetings, and this will be our fourth one, and we have another one scheduled in March. So, but anyway, this town hall meeting will be at Westminster Presbyterian Church in the Fellowship Hall at 6 p.m. February 3rd. So, I need one last motion for somebody to make.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We move into executive session to discuss personnel matters, and we would only return to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn to a executive session, to go into an executive session only to come back to only adjourn the meeting. No action will be taken at that. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay.